I think success for me would be to, to live exciting adventures during the day and still be home in time to share dinner with my daughter and to put her to bed.
Success in quantum doesn't always look like headlines or hardware breakthroughs. Sometimes it looks like balance. Welcome to Women in Quantum.
Welcome back to Women in Quantum. Hi, I'm Candace Gillhooley. And Women in Quantum is a podcast where we spotlight the brilliant, bold, and boundary-breaking women shaping the future of quantum technology. The show is about more than science. It's about curiosity, courage, leadership, and the real journeys behind the breakthroughs. Each week, I sit down with founders, researchers, engineers, and innovators to unpack how they got here and what they're building and why their stories matter, especially for the next generation. If you've ever wondered whether you belong in deep tech, this is your space. Let's dive in together. Good morning, Sabine. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. What about you?
I'm doing great. Today we are going to speak with Sabine, and she is the Chief Quantum Project Officer at Gency.
Nice
Hi,
to meet you.
Sabine.
Hi.
I'm very excited about today. So I want to start at the very beginning. Okay. I want to start with you in elementary school, grammar school in France, and what was your most exciting subject? What did you really want to know more about?
So I've been passionate about a lot of things over the years, but I think what's really striking, and some of you might be the same way, is when I want to pursue a subject, I go all in. So I've been into history, archaeology, a lot of stuff. I've been into math, also a lot. Biology, also, I wanted to be a doctor. Then I wanted to be a lot of things. Then I really, really got deep into math, I'd say in high school, because I had this teacher who was, well, she was at first very hard to catch, I'd say, because she also taught in prep school for, higher education, very top ranked engineering schools in France. And she was also a teacher at my high school, so it was a bit hard to follow. But getting into the upper grade, I finally caught up with the way that she taught math, and then she pushed us to, take some exercises that were really next level, and it was really nice because you could see how far you could go, even at this high school level. So it was really a really nice. A nice adventure with this teacher, and I really kept in touch after, and she was really pushing towards me taking an engineer degree. But I had some discussions with my parents, and as they knew that I was also very much into literature, geopolitics, I was interested in some other topics. So they suggested that I start with a business and administration degree, which I did, and it was super interesting, to be honest. So I got into a Paris-based business school that is called ESCP. That is a very, very old school, and I took my first economic lessons and also history of the economy. So that I thought it was super interesting, and I was also very interested in marketing, international marketing, and so that's also where I got to know a bit more about technology, because these were very good topics for marketing courses. But I missed math and physics.
Okay.
And this specific business school had a partnership with an engineering school that was called Supélec at that time. So the engineering school of electricity, let's say. Now it's called Centrale Supélec. There's been some fusions and so on, some mergers. And I took some prep lessons during my first year in business school to enter this engineering school and have this kind of double curriculum in both schools. And this is where it gets interesting because, well, I came from a business school which was probably, you had an equal number of women and men in that school. It was quite balanced.
Okay.
But in this electricity engineering school, it was all men.
There
I
you
think
go.
we were about 16% of women in the first year. But to be honest, I thought the atmosphere was still great. It was a very warm atmosphere for women because they were happy to see that some women had taken these courses.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was a nice place to be. And actually, my friends, they helped me a lot because for the first year in engineering school, it was quite hard because I had to catch up with the two very intensive prep years that they had before the entrance exam. So some of them were like the highest ranked students in the best prep schools in France. And so I had to accept that at first I wouldn't understand everything, that I would be lost, that it would be more difficult for me to understand the lessons and to take the exams, so that I had to work twice as hard or maybe 3 times as hard as my fellow students for that first year to just pass, the exams. But there was a really strong solidarity because we didn't have the same background. So whenever we had to take these oral exams, I was way better prepped than they were because I was used to, selling when you are in a business school. These are exercises that you do in class and also in prep school. And so I was coaching them for these specific oral exams. And they were correcting my exercises and trying to prep me for the written exams. So even though I think on the technical stuff, I was way behind them, but in the way that you present things and that you make things clear to an audience, I was also supporting them. So trying to find the right balance between what you give and what you take.
Okay. So this was so you started in grammar school, you went to university, you went on to business school. In business school, you got excited by electrical engineering. And then you transferred into that. And that was really the first time, you're saying, where you looked around the room and you realized you were one of few women that were in that discipline. So let me ask you, so when you navigate those moments when you might feel less confident, especially when the stakes are high, how do you handle that?
Well, my father used to say to me, I think is really essential. You don't play with your life there. I mean, if you don't get the degree, it doesn't determine everything that's going to happen next. So at that stage, I mean, I'm not a surgeon. I was not doing exercises on human corpses.
Right.
So in the end, I just, well, it was all about having some bonus lessons, learning something new, potentially having a double degree.
Okay.
But if I didn't make it, well, then I would still have this business and administration degree, and it was already a good academic background. So I would find a job anyhow. Yeah.
So was there a moment when you started doing the electrical engineering that you're and moving back towards more math and more physics, that you were like, this is what I really want to do? Like, when did that happen for you?
I think it kind of happened every time it was tricky. Every time it was tough, because in the end, when you actually acquired, the knowledge, you were so proud of yourself.
Okay. That's important.
I like this feeling of being challenged and, giving it all.
I like that. So what has surprised you the most about your journey into quantum?
How multidisciplinary it is, I think. But, I didn't have much experience before I got into quantum. I worked as an apprentice on mission critical systems, so it was mostly about homeland security and the military. So, but the people, they mostly had the same background, or at least they were from the army, formerly from the army. After that, I moved to HPC, where you had, people with different technical backgrounds, but not that different. Like going into quantum, I discovered the very interest of having a PhD working for an industrial player, which I had never thought of before. How you need to translate your physicist language into the mathematician's language, into the computer scientist's language. And that it takes a lot of effort to, trying to find common grounds to actually go somewhere together. But and also like moving further as the industry developed, what I think was super interesting is that I really ran into brilliant minds that were not directly involved in developing the technology, but that were involved in developing the business, developing the structures, promoting the technology, trying to, find the right networks to connect these industrial player to some user communities, some political communities, and these like non-physicists, non-mathematicians, masterminds, they're probably as important as the people that have their hands on the development of the technology.
Okay.
And some of them are women.
And some of them are women. Okay.
Yeah.
So could you describe a day in the life of what you do?
Well, so what we do as Gency is, most of our time is devoted to animation around the platform that we provide access to. So we try to reach out as much as possible to the end users of our supercomputers to make them aware that quantum is coming, that it has some potentialities for the work that they are doing, that if they want to explore quantum computing, they can find the right experts to help them with that, to train them also. So we are investing a lot in kind of public computing capabilities business development, which is a very specific job actually. So we are doing it for academic end users, but also for industrial end users, because the modalities to access our public platform is to pursue open research. So it's free because it's government funded, but it's for open research mostly. And we are also very much invested in public procurement of these prototypes, of these first systems that are produced by mostly European quantum startups or quantum providers at the moment. So today we have a Pascal a neutral atom system that is up and running in our HPC facility, in the TA's HPC facility. And we have a Quandela system that is owned by Euro HPC, and that will be up and running in a matter of weeks now.
Ooh.
And we are currently procuring a new type of animal, I would say, because we're procuring a cat qubit system. So that would be early FTQC platform.
So that's a lot of interesting things that you were just discussing. So what skills beyond technical knowledge have been essential in your journey to date?
Curiosity, like being being open to learning new things, accepting that you can't understand everything, but that you need to understand a certain amount of the topic to pursue a specific goal, and that accepting that the rest of the work sometimes must be done by other people. So for me, it's not that hard, because I have a very good relationship with Felix that was in the podcast previously. That is really our technical expert, and with whom I try to delegate, the tasks.
Okay.
And who explains a lot to me, which is nice. But I think also, and maybe that is specific to me, but I think I learn mostly from discussions with people rather than reading articles. So even though I have this literature that is accessible, I tend to go discuss with the experts in the topics that I need to master, in order to make sure that I have the right ideas in place to pursue the goal that is set. So discussions and establishing your network, finding the right experts. I think that is essential. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, what challenges did you face early on in your career that you might not have expected?
Trying to navigate in a new field, I'd say. Well, I think going into this electrical engineering school, I had an idea that I would like to work in an industry, but the first internship that I had was in the tire manufacturing industry, which is completely different, super oriented towards innovation still, but in a completely different field and more established one. When I entered the quantum industry, I had no idea that the structure that I work for now existed. And I think they were not yet investing into quantum computing. So it's all taking place now. It's all structured now. So you don't really have a very clear outlook on what will be the next stage or the next step in your career. So I think that's a super opportunity, because my next job probably doesn't exist.
Right, it's true. That's totally true.
But still, it's tricky, because I've been used to discussing with people with very, very clear career path, in the same company, in the same field, more or less. But since I got into quantum, I've done tasks in very, very different fields. I started working as a product marketing manager at Atos, which is now no longer Evident but Bol since last week. Then I moved to sales operations to support their sales force into selling quantum. Then I moved to Quandela as a business developer, and now I am project manager, working on large European procurements and national public initiatives. So yeah, it's
you've moved around. New. I mean, you've moved around a lot of different types of positions, that kind of give you a perspective on the whole system. You know what I mean? Which allows you to kind of understand how all the moving parts work together. which I think is important when breaking it down. So has this influenced how you lead or you collaborate and even how you mentor others?
I think so, yes, because what strikes me I think on a daily basis is how you deal with the customer-provider relationship. So I come from the industrial side. So I've been in a position where I wanted to sell something to some of my current partners, HPC centers in Europe. So I think I kind of get what is at stake when some startups, they come to us now trying to sell their technology, trying to promote their technology, asking us also to provide some awareness to our HPC center network on what they're doing. So I think it also helps me understand a bit better what is going on in the mind that is facing me at the moment.
So have you ever doubted your place in this space? And if you have had the doubt, how did you move through it?
I think I kind of frequently doubt my place in this space, because I'm not an administrative person, but I am a bit in a way. Some people, they come to me with technical questions. Some of them I know how to answer to. Some of them I don't even understand the question. So the legitimacy that you have is somehow fragile on this type of emerging technologies. So yeah, I think in a way, working with someone like Felix has helped me because it's very smooth. We can share we are in the same office on a daily basis, so we can share very easily on the things that we are not sure about, the things that we'd like to explore more to strengthen our position also as advocates, for example. But what really helps me go through these phases, I think, is the discussion with some of my colleagues, the reinsurance from my boss that he hired me for a lot of good reasons that he has to repeat sometimes. The connection, like the friendly connection that I have with some members of our ecosystems. I've made very, very deep friendships amongst women, but also men in this field, and sometimes it's nice, to have feedback on the impact that you have.
Okay, I think that's important to know that that what you're doing has meaning and that you're making progress. And so what problem are you the most excited to help solve?
Well, I'd say the industrialization of these systems. Like I'm faced with all of these startups, these founders. They gave it all in, for their technology, and more than money, more than public investment, public procurement. What I think that we bring when we have these projects with them is the adventure of getting these machines out of the lab and having them working in an industrial environment, in a wild environment where they don't master everything. I think it has, where I have these two examples of Pascal and Quandela, but the feeling is, and the impression that I got from these two projects is that we have grown on both sides. we have learned a lot from these deliveries, from these acceptances and these integration projects. And I'm also very excited that we're able to do that also at a European level. As I mentioned previously, some of the HPC centers that I work with now, I've sold devices to them. So now it's funny because we moved from a provider to customer relationship to a partner to partner relationship, and I still really much enjoy working with these people. We have, by the way, some of these HPC centers, they have women as project managers. Well, to name a few, I really enjoyed working with Laura Schultz, who is now working for Argonne National Lab in the US, but formerly she was working at the Leibniz Rechenzentrum in Germany. And she was really a mentor to me. Even though we were partners, I mean, she really supported me through these projects. I work with Sara Marcella from Cineca in Italy, Alba Cervera Lierta in BSc in Spain, with Ariana Torres in the Netherlands at SURF. So these are just examples of I'd say very important women in my field, which they really do have a very strong impact on how this field is developing now in Europe, because they are leading major procurement and also integration projects that are supporting the startups, supporting the users, and the overall development in this field.
Okay, do you have any choice as to the projects that you get to work on?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
Obviously, so the program that I am part of in France stems from the National Quantum Strategy. So it goes both ways, because we advise based on our understanding of the market, our understanding of the needs of the potential users, on the potentialities of this technology for solving specific use cases. And so at a political level, I think they listen to us, so we can suggest, and they validate or not based on the bigger picture that they have, also by working with other European members of EuroHPC, for example. So this is a try and error approach, I'd say, with our stakeholders.
Where do you see the biggest bottleneck happening right now in the quantum ecosystem?
Well, I'd say it's not my opinion directly, but it's something that I hear quite often and that I've grown convinced of, is that we've invested massively on the development of the hardware, which I think is essential. It's required, but we're maybe lagging a bit behind on the development of algorithms and the software stacks. So this is something, and also the support to the adoption by end users. For example, we would like, and this is one of the goals of our project, to foster the adoption of quantum technologies and mostly quantum computing amongst the HPC users. But this requires a lot of not just awareness, but also support, research, to guide them towards really digging a bit into their codes and seeing what could be potentially accelerated and to which extent, at what horizon, by these quantum technologies. And so this is probably, I'd say, the focus that we need to have in the coming years, not leaving behind the development of the platforms, but we need to be able to use them when they're sophisticated enough to reach these gains.
How do you stay adaptable when there's big industry shifts?
So we have a very, I'd say, dynamic community here in France, and we are very well connected to our European and international partners. So through discussions at conferences, through being open-minded, listening a lot to some experts. So I think this is how we are trying to, keep up with most of the important shifts, technological shifts. I hope we're not missing too much, but well, we have a very good relationship with an expert in France that is called Olivier Ezrati, who produces and updates a very, very thorough book, which is free, by the way, that is called Understanding Quantum Technologies. He's doing it, as a hobby, and is very well. He's very well connected to both academic and industrial communities in Europe and worldwide. And discussions with Olivier are always very informative. So in case we miss something, we might find out through Olivier.
Okay. All right. What is some advice that you would give your younger self at the beginning of your journey into quantum?
I'd say don't fear to, the fact that you don't know everything. Don't be afraid to ask. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a great thing to learn, that it's okay to ask and not to feel stupid. You're in fact stupid when you don't ask. You can't expect everyone to know everything, and you just have to be willing to accept that it's a wonderful thing to learn. And in quantum and just figuring out this field, I'm learning something new. I'm learning multiple things every single day, right? And then as soon as I feel like I've got a grasp, I'm like, not quite. There's a little bit more to it that you need to understand. So what practical steps could students take right now if they wanted to enter the quantum field?
Well, as always, I think a good thing to do is to get informed by reaching out to people working in the quantum industry. I'm not always responding as quickly as I'd like to, but I try. We get a lot of, messages on LinkedIn from people studying in math, physics, or even in business schools or whatever, and who are interested, curious about this field and want to know more, or are looking for internships or for thesis in this field. And I think this is not an easy move, reaching out to someone that you have no connection with. But this is, if you don't try, you will never get it. So you should do it. You should try reaching out to a person that you've heard of through a podcast, or I don't know, if you look into a presentation and you see a name, don't hesitate to reach out to these people. Very often, that's my experience in this quantum field, they're quite open to new connections, to discussing with people who are curious about this field. And so I think through these discussions, you will understand a bit more how it's structured, what is needed, what skills are required, and you might be surprised. They will need human resources, they will need secretaries, they will need engineers, they will need, in a number of fields, they will need computer scientists, they will need physicists, with or without PhD thesis. So, and that's, so it's important to, see where you are going. And so to just set this goal, you need to have more information, and by reaching out to people, you might get it.
So how do you manage intensity and burnout in high performance environments?
Communication
Okay.
is super important. Communication. So I work in a multi-organization environment, meaning that on all of the projects that we're involved in, we don't work alone. I work in a 20 people organization. So we rely heavily on CEA, CNRS, other organization, other research organizations. So there might always be room to delegate something to someone. And if you don't communicate on your workload, on something that you're, I don't know, blocked on, then you will never know if someone else might be able to help. So probably the best way to deal with that is to communicate, and to not to hesitate to say I am too loaded. There are too many things on my plate at the moment, and I will need to find someone else to do the rest. Because you can always just take on so many projects.
So what's one misconception people have about working in quantum that you'd like to reframe?
I think there's still this idea that you need to have a PhD. And I have so many examples of people like myself who don't. And I think one of the misconception is this frequent that a lot of people, they call me Dr. Mehr, when I've never been, ever in my life, I've never even considered engaging in a PhD thesis. So yeah, I think that might be one of the one of the misconceptions that is still very, very pregnant at this moment. And it's a pity because we've got very good masters people who are doing the job.
Okay. How do you think leaders could better support women in deep tech?
Well, I think something that is working well is the support amongst women, but not the formal one, like the little things, the little messages like, yeah, I saw your presentation, it was really good. I mean, these are very tiny examples of how I felt, promoted by my peers, by the women I looked up to. And this is something that I've experienced in this field that I think is working very well. And this is also something that I tend to replicate, even with women who are older than I am. Just by saying, I saw that you released this paper, or I saw that you had this achievement. Congrats. This kind of feedback, I think, is important. Or I don't know. I mean, last year there was this woman from Bull. She was doing a programming workshop on a booth at a conference, and we had a minister coming by the booth, and we rushed to that woman who was doing something very hard. I mean, to promote her to this politician who was randomly stopping by, and it was a good opportunity for her, to be shown. So yeah, I think these are little actions, not necessarily, trying to push women at all costs, but, trying to support other women.
Okay, so I didn't ask you about, I don't think I asked you about mentors. If you had a mentor that really affected you, or have you been a mentor to someone else, and how has that experience helped you?
Well, I think there are like two examples, very strong example. Well, maybe three examples. So the person who who identified me to take on this job at Gency. So her name is Christelle Piechowski. She now works for NVIDIA. But I met her when I was working for Bull at that time, and I actually took over this product management task that she was having, and we connected well. And when she saw that I had left Bull for Quandela, she told her boss, because she knew she was leaving Gency, that I would be a good fit. And she did not just do that. Like, she reached out to me and she discussed with me about the potential position. She encouraged me also because I thought it was a very huge leap to take. And I wasn't sure I would be the best fit for it, and that I would be able to take on the job. And then after, she connected me to my current boss, Stefan, who I'd say would be my second mentor. He is supporting me every day. He tries to see all of my presentations, tries to help me as much as possible whenever he can. And he's a very, very busy guy, always very kind, trying to make me look up to myself. So he's a very inspiring person. And I already mentioned her, but she was really an important person on my path, Laura Schultz, who used to work at LRZ. Like, she's the example. She was my customer when I was working for Bull. She invited me to do this presentation at LRZ in front of a bunch of very high profile scientists, and she really encouraged me to do this presentation. Later on, when we reconnected as partners, she really promoted me amongst the community, saying, I know her from before. She's a really brilliant woman. So she was really, and I gave a talk to supercomputing in November, and it was really hard task for me because the room was super big, and I was talking not about quantum solely, but about a broader scope. So I was really stressed out, and we were in St. Louis. And actually, the first person that I saw in that room was Laura, standing at the front row. And she asked questions, and she was so supportive that it really helped me. Even though we don't work together anymore, she really kept on pushing me. And she was, for the anecdote, she was one of the first people that I told about my pregnancy, and she was really happy for me. I mean, so she's actually now a really good friend.
So what responsibility do women like yourself, women who have experience in the quantum ecosystem and are thriving in it, what kind of responsibility do you have potentially to the next generation to come up?
I think we have the responsibility to talk about what we are doing now to the largest possible number of people who are taking on these, studies. A good example, for example, would be Vivatech. This is a conference that we attend every year, and on the Saturday you have this general public day where you have children coming to the booth and saying, "Oh, I just started studying physics, and I'm really into experiments and so on." And I think we have the responsibility to make it as simple as possible. The basics of what we do. We have to lower the barrier for them to understand that this is a very exciting topic, and that the physics field, it can also lead to that. Math can also lead to that. A lot of tracks can lead to that. So yeah, trying to tell little girls that these scientific topics, yeah, of course they can pursue them, and there are a lot of jobs in our industry for them after that.
I like that. I like that a lot. So what excites you the most about what we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years in quantum?
The applications, the use cases, definitely. I want to see actual impact of these platforms. Ideally, I would like to see it on different technologies because I think all of them are really interesting. I don't know if all of them will survive, to this path, like for the classical computing track. But I really hope that we will find some breakthroughs on different technologies and on different fields that will really bring into the light all of the hard work that is being done right now.
What message would you most want young women around the world to hear from you about the quantum ecosystem and the future of deep tech?
Well, for the quantum ecosystem, I think there are a lot of inspiring women, a lot of inspiring examples in this industry. This is a very good place to work. I think in most organizations that I know, academic, public, private, industrial, you find these very nice cultures. And there are a lot of organizations that are led by women, or where women play very important roles. So I'd say this is a good field to work in, and you should invest in a track that leads you to us. Yeah.
I didn't ask you this before, but how do you stay motivated during setbacks or complex research challenges?
We have a very festive culture, I'd say, in our little program team. So like up until now, I think the major downturns of what we've experienced, we've been able to have always one of us keep motivating the others. I have a very optimistic boss, so Stefan is a really nice asset in these times, and I think Felix is also quite nice to work with in these times. And we also have a project coordinator who is called Jacques-Charles Lafoucrière, who works for CEA, who is a very, very nice leader, and has, I think, also these motivating spirit.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so now my last question is going to be, what does success mean to you in the context of a long and evolving career?
Well, I think this has evolved recently for me because I've become a mother.
Okay.
So my life has changed quite a bit.
Absolutely.
I think success for me would be to live exciting adventures during the day and still be home in time to share dinner with my daughter and to put her to bed. So
There you go. And that's balancing, your home and your curiosity and your business life and the exciting things that you do every day. So if people want to know more about what you do and what you're involved in, where should we send them?
Okay, so we have on LinkedIn, I'd say you can follow the HQI France organization, which is the project page. You can follow Gensi, definitely, which is the organization that I work for. I also urge you to go see what your HPC joint undertaking is leading as projects regarding HPC and quantum, because we have massive updates coming in. And yeah, you can go see the HQI website, hqi.fr, Gensi's website, jancy.fr. And also don't hesitate to reach out directly on LinkedIn. I try to catch up.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Today has been fantastic. I really appreciate, the behind the scenes, under the cover, what's going on, how you got to where you are, and why, you're so inspiring to other women out there. And I really, really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to let the music then take us out.